Welcome to Kickstarter Radio 102.4. I'm your host, Lipstick Paddy, and today we're going to be comparing GenCon with E3 because I think the board gaming industry can learn something from the video game industry here. But before we get into the video, let's go to our juicy sponsor. Kickstarter Radio 102.4 has a new podcast that goes out every Sunday. It's called Broadcast, and it'll be 50% music and 50% Kickstarter board news from the week. It also will include a Q&A where you can directly get involved in the show, and it will be at an ultra quality of 320 kilobytes a second for the audiophiles out there. Please check the description below how to subscribe to the show. It has a podcast link and the RSS feed, so please tune in to our special podcast every week. Now let's get to the main feature of today. What can the board game industry learn from the video game industry? All looking at the conferences of both, the biggest conferences in the year, as GenCon 2021 was an epic disaster, and sometimes disasters need to happen for the thing to get better, fixed, and improved. That's just the way of the world, I guess. So how can GenCon 2022 improve? And the only way of really looking at that is to look at E3, the video game conference, which really is the Electronic Entertainment Expo or Exposition. And I'm going to be looking at E3 maybe historically because the COVID's kind of messed it all up and all this stuff. But essentially, in the video game industry, and it's even true today, that most people's marketing comes from E3. I'm talking about people that play video games. If you look at any game and you search by views, majority of all the views from that one game will be from the E3 years. That is how big it is as a marketing tool. It doesn't matter of the other gaming conventions around the world, which could be Gamescom or the Tokyo Game Show. E3 is the number one. 90% of all traffic on videos is from the E3 video. It's that big of a thing. Now, GenCon historically has been covered by Board Game Geek and fellow YouTubers and such that have been running around the floor and stuff. But it is in no ways as big as E3, even though E3 is much smaller of a conference. And the big difference between the two is that E3 has stages set up for GameSpot and IGN for them to record live. And if GenCon is going to improve in 2022 and beyond, it needs to set up some stages where some of the big channels can actually set up and cover all the games. I'm going to be doing a what if, and it's going to be like a future take, and I'll do a little role play of what could happen in the future. That'll be at the second half of the video. But at this first part of the video, I just want to show you what would happen at an E3 in a normal year. This is GameSpot. They have quite a large stage set, usually at the show. And they usually just have sofas, and the dev can come and sit down and they can play footage on the screen. I think what BGG did in the past was very good, where they brought in that, you could see what's going on the table, and that was all good. But here they've sometimes, if there's so many games coming out in a certain year, they will have two stages going on at the same time, so simultaneous from the same network, which is absolutely incredible. Also, there is also IGN that have themselves set up too, and between the two of them, IGN and GameSpot, they pretty much nail every single game at the conference. Or expo. There's no game that does not get touched by these teams. So if that's the goal, to get every game covered at Gen Con, it's going to be a massive undertaking because there's so many games that get there. So the only thing is to call on the big three. Yes, the big three. That would be Dice Tower, Board Game Geek, and those guys from across the pond. Shut up and sit down. This needs to be really made easy for them because they are not going to do it on their own, and they need an olive branch in order to do it. The stages, for example, could be given for free. Certainly the Wi-Fi can be given to them for free to do the live recording, and this should definitely be part of the booth experience. So if you order a booth at Gen Con, not only are you getting the booth space, but you're getting an allocated time slot to take that game up and get it on the live stream so that it's recorded in history. This is very, very important because the marketing at these events, when all games get covered, is second to none. And I do hear complaints of certain developers saying they can't come onto Kickstarter in September or October because it's too hard to get seen. Well, that's because there's giant nuclear bombs on Kickstarter. But don't be coming on Kickstarter if you've not, marketed your game beforehand. That's the attitude we're getting on Kickstarter now. And let me show you some videos from Gen Con in the past where the early marketing really excelled these games into Kickstarter and beyond. Now, Kaz, the Dice Odyssey, I'll put the link down below, at Gen Con 2019, actually interviewed the devs for the Isofarian Guard. This was a fantastic game, and it's shocking that this is the only interview of Gen Con 2019. It just shows you kind of the appalling behaviour that's going on in the board game industry. And you'll see Kaz here checking out the Foreteller, which at this time we didn't really know much about in the industry, but it's now taking it by storm. Foreteller's on Madara, it's on Gloomhaven, it's going to be on Frosthaven, it's going to be on the Dungeons of Affinity, and also Isofarian Guard. But this is a fantastic time, though, to get your game marketed at this conference, and it gives you a great opportunity to start to get some buzz in the industry. Now let me go to another game that was at Gen Con that covered, and these two games I'm covering are going to be like fantastic. Now this second video, also from Gen Con 2019, is covering Time of Legends Destinies, which had to change its name to just Destinies, I think, because of rights and stuff. Anyway, we got to see this game and how amazing it looked. Absolutely looked amazing. It wasn't for another year. It took, only got delivered really this year in 2021, and it is one incredible experience, and it's basically an adventure where it's not cooperative, it's competitive, which makes it very unique in the industry. But these two were catalogued, these two games, at Gen Con, and this is what I am saying, they're not getting picked up by the main channels. And when you make a Gen Con list, why are you only putting games out that are going to be at the store to buy? Because the games that are coming out in the future is where the excitement also is. And these are not your prototypes, these are early prototypes, but looking fantastic. They're looking as close as they're going to get to when the Kickstarter page goes live. So that is the quality you need to bring to Gen Con, it's looking very special. And the early prototypes that you see as well, like we saw at Gen Con this year, there was the early type from Restoration Games, like they've got a Kickstarter coming out real soon. They really could have done a better job at what they're doing, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. But what I'm saying is, these two games went kind of under the radar unless you knew these other channels that were covering it at Gen Con. And that was blasphemy, because these games should have been the hottest games at Gen Con in 2019. And they weren't, because some people didn't look at them and fabricated a list out of nothing. It's interesting because at Essen, there are starting to do electronic displays there where you can actually vote on your game of the con there. But if you've got a live thing like at E3, you can actually go off the views that all these videos are getting, or you can get people to vote on the top views online. That's far more interesting, I think, to kind of win like the best of the show and best of category and such like that. But what I'm trying to say is games are going under the radar at Gen Con. It's such a big shame. This is the biggest marketing tool that it could be for all games. And if all games did get covered at the show, it does need an olive branch. So we're going to look into how that could be done in this second half of the video. Now, Peter Atkinson, he is Mr. Gen Con. He's the guy who sets it up. And it's really, I think, on his shoulders to really bring the olive branch to these YouTube giant channels. So what he should be doing is get him on the phone and telling him he's going to set up the stage and give them the Wi-Fi, even for free, and he will even schedule in slots for games to get covered on it, because we need to make Gen Con big. He's going to say Peter Atkinson needs to have this challenge that every single game gets covered online at the show. And with the epicness of how many games are going to be there, there's going to have to be 3 setups, 3 studios, 3 sets, or whatever you want to call it. You've got your Dice Tower, Board Game Geek, and Shut Up and Sit Down. And Peter Atkinson really needs to sweeten the deal. Shut Up and Sit Down, they're in the UK. Maybe he's going to fly them over and get them at the show, because they really want the biggest out there covering everything, because this is where the main traffic is online when games get covered. And we get our favourite potential celebrities from each of those doing the show as well. And it doesn't have to be, for example, one person doing it all day, which sometimes happens with GameSpot. You can change up yeah, you can definitely change and have breaks and all that stuff. But it does definitely need to be covered. I think Peter Atkinson is going to have to be the catalyst here, that even just experiments 1 year to see if we can get this going. Because I think if every game is catalogued online where people can go and watch videos, that will be an absolutely superb time for the industry to say, this is the one place, the one marketing tool for the whole year ahead. And it'll be absolutely fantastic for the industry, simply because every game going to Gen Con has a platform to launch their game on, where they can at least show their Gen Con video and all that good stuff. And I think when Gen Con becomes such a easier place to find research out from, I think that will then let the industry get even bigger and bigger. For example, if I see a game that's covered, I might say to my, check out this interview at Gen Con, I'll send you the link. It gets people talking, and it maybe even spread to new people as well. And it doesn't matter if all the games are getting covered online, you're still going to want to go to Gen Con. In fact, it will actually make you want to go, because you can not just get the video of that game, but you can actually go and maybe play it when you get there, or buy stuff, and the full experience of Gen Con. It's not going to take anything away from it for the people visiting it, but it will just enhance it. And I think board gaming, if it goes into the marketing feel that the video game industry does, I think it can really, really grow much bigger than it is. But it really needs to start at the marketing level. E3 was very, very small in its early days. It wasn't even E3 back. It was like a little part of the trade show. And it just grew and grew and grew. And it's only with the massive attention of the marketing pull that let it grow so big. And I think GenCon needs to step up to the plate. If the board game channels aren't going to do it naturally, it needs to be, you need to be a catalyst and push them to do it, because it'll be fantastic for the industry. And I think everybody involved wants the industry to grow, and it can only be good for the hobby. So with that, peeps, I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think in the comments, and give the video a thumbs up if you think that GenCon needs to improve and have live sets from the big three at the con. Absolutely, peeps. We can fix the error in 2021, and not just fix it, but improve it and make it better. So all those people around the world that can't get to GenCon can still experience the full marketing pull that a conference was designed for in the for its very first reasons. Oh my goodness, GenCon 2022. You could be something very, very special, and this would definitely get people looking at GenCon in a different light, especially when you've got 3 massive live streams coming from GenCon, covering all of the amazing innovation and amazing games and all that good stuff. So peeps, thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Lipstick Paddy. You take care, stay safe, and bye-bye for now.